First of all, I want to thank the authorities of Bosnia and Herzegovina and partners of Info Dutch for the invitation. Also, I would like to thank the Dutch Embassy for their support in facilitating this event. In this lecture, I will outline the need for family group conferencing in modern societies. I will use the concept of FGC in a broad sense, including all forms of community conferencing, learning cycles and restorative conferences, where citizens make their own plans to solve their problems. Besides a strong state, the citizens of Bosnia and Herzegovina need strong communities. My lecture is focused on the latter, knowing that there is a delicate relationship between strong communities and strong states. In the words of Rosemary Nudge, the thin solidarity of the state is propped up and supported by the thick solidarity of the near community. Since 2009, we have been studying the attempts to reach out and reunite extremely marginalized people with their family and wider social networks in the Netherlands using family group conferencing. In this lecture, I will describe the manifestation of a long historical process leading to the weakening of family ties and the ambivalent commitment that comes with it. The choice to support each other is possible as much as the possibility not to do so. The social structures of solidarity within families and near communities are easily undermined in spite of shared life events. But as I will point out, they can also be restored using FGC and other forms of indirect social engineering. In Western societies, it is not always possible to support each other directly because geographic mobility physically distances family members from one another, or because of changes in the family composition due to marital disruption. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, 15% of the marriages end up in a divorce. In the Netherlands, this is more than double. 1/3 of all marriages end up in divorce. Furthermore, the decline of associations and community life is manifest everywhere in Western societies. See, for instance, Putnam's book, Bowling Alone. Paul and Spencer use the concept of personal communities to describe that family ties are not only given, but also chosen. The ties between individuals, families, communities and associations are more and more a matter of choice. Choice and detraditionalization sets us free, but at the same time impedes the source of solidarity these social groups can offer. For this reason and other reasons, I will argue that families and near communities need to be strengthened, especially when there are severe and ongoing psychosocial problems. In Western society, a broad development towards social justice, democracy, horizontal relationships and individualism is going on. Once a context of social justice and democracy is established, the role of kin ties becomes less important to keep the wicked world outside. Rosemary Nudge distinguishes thick and thin solidarity. When a strong and just state offers social security like welfare benefits, disability benefits, employment insurance, the thick solidarities of families is less needed because the thin solidarity of the state provides this. Kin altruism, doing something for your family as an obligation, has evolved in reciprocal altruism, doing things because there is a return gift to be expected, like trade. And this is replaced by the blind altruism of the modern societies. Living together is difficult in a world without grand narratives on how to behave. In the name of what can a parent say to a child, it's bedtime? In the name of what can a neighbor say to another neighbor not to make phone calls on the balcony after 11 o'clock in the evening? The authority of parents or elderly is not self-evident anymore. Relationships are horizontal. You don't get your way because you're a man or because you're older. In a world with less tradition, less obligation, and less vertical relationships, reasoning and deliberation becomes important. Bringing up children without the social control of the extended family and neo-community is, however, not easy for everyone, especially when the parents lack social and cultural capital. When people lack the competencies to deal with horizontal relationships, living together in noisy houses, keeping a good relationship with your partner, dealing with the insecurity of the neoliberal working conditions is difficult. The social problems connected to the lack of economic, social and cultural capital, like domestic violence, child abuse, addiction, mental health care conditions, juvenile crime, are not always well addressed by care and welfare organizations. The thin solidarity of the state is outsourced to welfare and care facilities that do not have the capacities to invoke social resilience. Market-driven organizations tend to magnify vulnerability. The work of Fukuyama, Schirmer, and Steven Pinker demonstrate how commerce, competition, individualism, democracy, and social justice recall each other and ultimately lead to less violence and more security. The rise of commerce in welfare and healthcare, however, has side effects that are related to co-modification. Co-modification of healthcare means that the relationship between clients and professionals become a commercial relationship, legitimizing the rules of commerce and the pursuit of self-interest. In a market-driven healthcare, commodities are fungible. Professionals can be substituted for another, similar commodity, provided quality and price are the same. In this view of healthcare and welfare, physicians and other care providers and patients become commodities too. In a market-driven healthcare system nowadays, providers of healthcare and welfare look for ways to expand their services. The incentives of the market hinder the activation of self-care or informal care. Medicalization and individualization have become strong forces, leading to the delimitation of citizens and into dependency cultures. There is, however, another line of doing and thinking possible. Rob van Bargé outlined the features of family group conferencing. The core, the problem, arises in a social context. The social network is activated to think along and together draw up a plan. Professionals support the decision making with their expertise. The group is in the lead. It's the power to the people. This way of working requires a profound change in thinking and acting of social and care workers. It keeps away from the heroic stance of the expert, as it requires a certain sense of modesty, and lowers its grandeur and unrealistic expectations of being agents of social change. The current General Secretary of Health and Social Welfare in the Netherlands, Erik Gerritsen, typifies this way of thinking and acting as egoless caregiving, and defines this as follows: a person who affirms, stimulates, and activates others, someone who encourages the family and enjoys the results they achieve themselves. What is paramount is not working with the social network, but achieving results through the social network. Professionals give up their fantasies of omnipotence. They give up the idea that they can treat disorders and make risk taxations. Instead, they will focus on strengthening communities to solve their own problems. Gert describes this as a paradigm shift from direct social engineering to indirect social engineering. Municipalities turn into system organizers who bring actors together, bearing in mind that a varied group of actors is better able to meet the complexity of the real world and thus can formulate a solution that meets this complexity. Following the work of Wechsler and Winnick, we see the possibilities of the law to form a social force in resolving social problems. The law's role as a potential therapeutic agent is often needed to set limits to dangerous or antisocial behavior and to restore some sort of ownership. The therapeutic jurisprudence perspective these scholars suggest applies to legal areas as mental health law, criminal law, juvenile law, family law, and other areas. The power of the law to set limits invokes a sense of urgency, combined with the resources of the near community, in turn supported with the expertise of professionals, forms the basis of practical plans to turn the tide. Imagine what would happen if all troubled people have the chance to make a plan before the state intervenes. What would emerge when, in all situations of imminent danger for child abuse, imminent compulsory measures in mental health care, recidivism of juvenile crime, threatening home evictions, livability problems in residential areas, and all situations of domestic violence? First, a family group conference or restorative conference would be deployed. What would happen when this mindset permeates to anyone who has to deal with criminal law? Recent emphasis on capabilities and self-reliance in the Western social policies is also strongly reflected in the international movement of restorative justice. An offense or crime is a reason to learn. A safe society is only within reach when perpetrators are given the opportunity to learn from their mistakes by restoring what has happened. A well-known slogan of the restorative justice movement is, "The state is stealing the conflict from those it belongs to." Perpetrators should be given the opportunity to learn from their mistakes and offer their apologies in so-called restorative justice conferences, and subsequently make a plan not to re-offend. Indirect forms of social engineering, like FGCs, restorative conferences, community conferences, are promising ways to foster recovery and self-reliance. The ambition of FGCs is not inclined to establish a broad social cohesion within society, but to create conditions wherein social groups make a plan to resolve their issues. The rise of horizontal relationships, democracy, commerce, and social justice brings freedom of choice, but also weakens kin ties. The protective features of familial networks are nonetheless crucial to survive, while state agencies only have limited capacity to strengthen them. This is, in a nutshell, The raison d'être of FGC and other forms of indirect social engineering. Its ambition is specific and modest, advancing big society on small scale. Thank you very much.